Welcome back to another Modern Soccer Coach Breakdown. This week we are going to take a look at how to get the most from your training session and specifically how to match the warm-up to the following exercises that can keep the realism and consistency with your principles that you're going to be working on, how to match up your warm-up to your session and again make it more realistic, more specific to the situation. What is the process of working through that? We cover that today. Before we start, if you enjoy it, please like and subscribe, and if you want the details to these exercises that we're going to look at today, you can get them for free on the Modern Soccer Coach website. Plus, if you're looking for more activities around some of the exercises, we've got more resources on the Modern Soccer Coach page as well. Connecting warm up to the session. Here we go. Okay, so the objective of what we're going to look at for the training session is how to maximize attacking midfielders in the half spaces in the attacking half of the pitch. So those 8s and those 10s, looking at how to work in the attacking organisation to create chances and work the ball into those spaces specifically, and then movement ahead there to create chances. Okay, here's how we would do this and build a warm-up exercises from it. Okay, the first process of identifying the warm-up is to look at the options of how we're going to get in those spaces. So when you're designing the session, look at opportunities of where you think the ball is going to be arrived rather than just starting in that space. So for me, if you're looking at it in a 4-3-3 situation, we'll look at the tactics board here. Then it's going to be, number one, you're going to get it through the 6, and the 6 is going to be progressive with the passing to find into those half spaces, 8s and 10s. Or it can go around pressure and go into the fullbacks and then go into the 8s and the 10s in those spaces. Or it can go underneath the 8s and the 10s, so into the 9 initially, or into the target player 7s, 11s initially, and then underneath that, the 8s and the 10s can pick the ball up facing forward. So 3 ways then to get into that space, and then using those 3 ways then to build a warm-up from that. And this is the next step. Here we go. Don't forget, coaches, if you want these exercises and the details and the dimensions and the breakdown, you want to look at it for free on the website, modernsoccercoach.com. I'll also put a link below. Don't forget to check that out. Alright, the first exercise we're going to look at is going to be a basic diamond setup, 10-15 yards apart, attacking midfielders on either side, centre forward at the top, 6 at the bottom. The ball starts with the holding midfielder who plays it into the attacking midfielder and then into the centre forward. And the ball moves clockwise, anti-clockwise around the diamond with players simply following their pass. Coaches can ask those wide players to start centrally and then drop out into that wide space so they can replicate the movement of arriving into the pockets. And then you can also maybe add a bounce pass in the middle as well into the highest player to try and increase the challenge technically when you're building that session up. For the first exercise, simple diamond and making sure the movements are accurate and specific. Okay, second exercise, you keep your diamond, but this time you put 2 mini goals at the top, probably about 10-15 yards away from the highest marker. So now you change where the 8s and the 10s are positioned. So now the 8s and the 10s start at the top, and you put the 2 and the 3, the fullbacks, because you're going to use them to go around pressure specifically. So you put them on the outside. See them start with the number 6 playing into the wide space, and now when the ball arrives at the 2 or the 3, you've got the 8 and the 10 now dropping into the space now, looking to play forward on the second touch into the mini goals. You can again progress this by asking the number 8 and the number 10 to maybe play into the furthest mini goal. You can add a spin, you can add a combination play, but looking at the ball movement into that 8 and the 10, and again arriving into the area that the fullback is going to look for when you're looking at working the ball wide to try and get into those half spaces. Okay, and then the third option is the number 8s and the number 10s receiving the ball underneath the number 9 or underneath the 7-11 in those higher spaces. So now you add a central mannequin into the diamond and you ask the 8s and the 10s to play centrally. So now you're going to have the 2s and the 3s on the outside. You're going to have a number 9 high and hold a midfielder low. And then you're going to look for a little bounce pass to maybe move the 8 and the 10 out of that initial space and then ask them to then go and support on the second movement. So it's a bounce pass and then it goes into the highest player, and then the number 8 and the 10 receive the ball from the number 9, and then they can play wide into the 2 and the 3, replicating, receiving underneath, and then replicating an angle pass for that second movement. So a really, really good option to add that realism, and a really good option, again, to work on that second movement after the bounce pass initially. So there you have it, coaches. Just some ideas around how to build a warm-up and then progress it into different stages of the session. If you're looking for more session ideas on this, please check it out, modernsoccercoach.com/shop. I'll put the link below. Overall, for me, it's about reverse engineering it, looking at it from an option of not necessarily saying we have to do this or this or this. Look at the different options, and then being creative with your design and say, okay, we start with a basic diamond, but there's no point in doing a basic diamond for 10 or 15 minutes because it's going to involve a different set of solutions when you step onto the real pitch. So just looking at, maybe we can do this, maybe we can do that, then seeing whether that's consistent with your principles, then seeing what kind of player profile you have, and then always asking questions around that realism aspect. What's realistic for one system may be unrealistic for another system, but the process of working through that, I think, is going to be consistent with session design across the board. A lot of times when you look at some sessions and you look at the warm-up and it looks great, but it's unrelated to any area of the pitch, or it's unrelated to actions that are going to happen in the training session. My personal opinion is that if you make that related, you add a greater sense of consistency that can help in the transfer of information, and means that later on in the session you don't have to stop it as much. Maybe they're little reminders, but at least you've started the initial process of addressing different solutions that the players can maybe take into the exercise. So just a way of doing that. If you want us to take a look at something else, you can put it on the comments below. More than happy to take a look. Don't forget to head over to modernsoccercoach.com to get all the information, the details, the dimensions of this exercise. And if you're looking for a variety of passing exercises that you can take and tweak and move into your principles, into your philosophy, and into your system, we've got the resources of Modern Soccer Coach. I'll put that on the link below. Our pass and warm-up exercises has been really, really popular download, so please check that out. Thank you so much for your support. I'll see you next week. Goodbye.